The story begins on a humid dawn as the family piles into an old car. Dust billows and hides the city as they head on a journey that promises reunion, but carries shadows older than memory. The landscape shifts from noisy streets to endless fields to silent roads the boy has never seen. Houses thin out. The car passes beneath arching trees, stretching their shadows like fingers across the concrete. The boy's face is pressed to the glass, eyes wide with wonder and a quiet feeling. The kind words cannot name. Every mile takes them further from comfort, deeper into legend. Every grown-up in the car speaks in half-jokes and stories, but their eyes flick to the horizon with the wariness of those who remember. By midday, the light falls golden across the countryside. The railway appears as a scar, rusted iron tracks winding through fields of rice and desolate haciendas. Old stone depots collapse at their edges, abandoned to wild weeds and silence. The town itself feels untouched by time and hope, a place revealed only to those willing to journey away from the world's noise. The family's destination is the house by the river, where his grandaunt lives alone, her laughter echoing on the water. The boy notices the wooden beams of the house, visibly tired, sinking gently toward the ground like an old woman resting. The river behind it is slow, surface reflecting the sky, a stream that seems alive, ancient, and aware. Aunt's smile frames her wrinkled eyes with warmth, but her voice carries the sound of someone who has grown accustomed to watching the river for more than fish and rain. On their first night, the boy sleeps in the living room. Through the slits in the window, the sound of flowing water merges with wind, and every board in the old house whines under invisible weight. Shadows gather, swirl, and creep along the floor. The air, thick with incense, feels strange, almost like it remembers things people have tried to forget. The next morning, the world outside is mist-laden and quiet. The family decides to visit his other grandaunt and great-grandmother, who live more remote, near the railways. It's a ritual handed down through generations. Ride the handcar across forgotten tracks, cross old bridges, and pay respects. The handcar's metal frame clanks, echoing with each turn of its wheels. Fields blur by. Swamp air grows cool and bamboo houses like bones in fog line the tracks. Their destination appears beneath a bridge, a bamboo house beside a swamp, ridged with mold and memory, sunken on one side as if hiding from daylight. The boy's senses alert. Here, the air is different. Older people talk about elementals, beings not alive and not dead that share their world. He feels shivers as the wind changes and quietly listens for voices in the fog. Evening comes with its own mood. The world dims as the family, hearts both heavy and full, realize the time and decide to return. A journey the boy dreads, as night falls quickly in these parts. The handcar's wheels squeak on the rails as dark creeps forward, distant under the orange-red streaked sky. The railway seems a path into the unknown. On the edge of a deep canyon that carves the land, the boy notices two strangers unmoving at the verge, an old man and a young girl. Their faces are mapped with scars, skin stretched in unnatural patterns, eyes hollow and yet filled with wordless, blank attention. The scene haunts the boy, but he can do nothing but stare as the family passes by. At the next bend, a wake flickers in oil-lit gloom. Two caskets stand, thin-wooded and closed. The handcar driver whispers that these were the pair who fell harvesting their crops just yesterday, into the very canyon they just crossed. The boy feels cold, the chill seeping into bones he did not know could feel such things. He does not breathe the story aloud. Night once again settles. The boy falls into uneasy sleep, the events of the day replaying in dreams edged with dread. The house creaks and the shadows seem thicker, waiting. The darkness that fell upon the old railway town was not an ordinary nightfall. It crept slowly, thickening the air, blurring edges and swallowing sounds. Beyond the bamboo walls, the river changed, still but alive, reflecting moonlight like a watchful eye. Children played outside, their laughter weaker than before, each echo swallowed by the silent fields. Trying to feel part of their joy, the boy lingered near the cluster of local kids. He felt a weight, a cold heaviness entwining around his shoulders, whispering warnings through the soft wind. With every giggle, there was an absence, a silence stitched between each moment. When play ended, a strange song drifted from the shadows. Its notes, soft, chilling, and shapeless, clung to the trees and seeped into his bones. Then he heard it. His name, spoken clearly, stretching long across the darkness, unraveling like silk. He turned instinctively, heart thudding in his chest, and stepped into the moonlit open. There, beneath the swaying branches and silver haze, the white lady waited. Her dress was not made for walking the earth. It drifted over the grass, untouched by dust or dew. Her skin, pale as moonlight on water, seemed almost translucent. Her hair hung around her face in knots, black and wet. But what struck him most were her eyes. Blood red, glowing inside the hollow sockets, burning steady with a hunger that reached back centuries. The boy tried to speak, but no words came. When she smiled, the world itself seemed to shrink, fear carving freezing rivers in his nerves. Her hand lifted, skinny and slow, motion calling him forward, or perhaps pulling at his soul. He screamed, voice cracking, and ran. Inside, his family gathered, voices loud and frightened. He described the encounter as best he could, trembling with each syllable. His grandmother, ancient and solemn, explained the need to close his sight, to shut the third eye that made these terrors visible. They would do so at dawn, but night still reigned. That night, sleep ran from him. He lay wrapped in blankets, the curtain by the wall hiding whatever lurked just beyond. The bamboo creaked, wind rattled inside. Shadows moved in ways that felt deliberate and cruel. A jagged, scraping sound woke him. His fingers trembled as he lifted the curtain, revealing the Tiyanak, a beast of legend. Not merely a ghost, it was an infant warped by rage. Nails like knives, blood staining sickly skin. A twisted mouth alive with vicious teeth. Its eyes glinted, face a map of agony and hate. The boy's scream ripped through the hush, bringing the family running. But outside, only he saw what else the night offered. At the window, the white lady stood motionless, eyes ablaze, watching as the world spun into chaos and fear. The bamboo house was heavy with fear and exhaustion. After the night's terrors, silence returned, thicker and sadder than before. Every corner seemed to tremble in the chill, every shadow hinting at eyes that might reopen. The boy's cries still lingered, echoing against the fragile walls long after voices faded and blankets settled. No one slept deeply. The family moved like ghosts themselves, treading softly in half-light, hearts thumping with dread. The grandmother's posture grew even more rigid, her eyes scanning the darkness for threats only she believed fully. In her culture, protection is a sacred responsibility. The rituals are not superstition, but ancestral law. As the sky bruised with dawn, the grandmother whispered for everyone to wake. The boy was pale, shivering in his blanket, eyes darting from window to curtain, barely daring to blink. Smoke from the kitchen's first fire hung low among old pictures and woven mats. She announced the need for an urgent ritual. Today they would take him to the shaman. Not just any healer, but one learned in the old arts. Someone who knew the language of the unseen and the passwords necessary to close the third eye. The family packed quietly, nerves stretched to the edge. And with offerings for protection, they began their walk across town. The shaman's house lay beyond the last bend of the river, surrounded by wild grasses and ancient stones. The air felt different here, heavier, charged and ready. The shaman greeted them as someone used to these burdens, a figure wrapped in old fabrics, her eyes gleaming with the assurance of many cures. With careful hands, she performed her work. Words thick with power filled the air. An offering of banana was placed on the boy's tongue. Not merely food, but an anchor in the living world. Powder was sprinkled, prayers spoken, knots tied, smoke drawn in circles over trembling limbs. The ritual felt endless, a careful remaking of boundaries, the closing of doors within flesh and memory, a promise of return to safety. When it was done, the boy felt an indescribable ease. The world dulled. The colors returned, but no faces stared from the darkness, no voices called from the river. Unseen things pressed against the edge of sense but could not break through. The shaman offered final advice. Some see from birth, others only when invited. Now the boy should feel, not see. He must not invite these horrors again, for they would always come if allowed. The family thanked her, bowing deeply, their burdens finally lightening as sunlight stretched over the fields and the house behind them. The rest of the day moved slow, as if time itself was catching its breath. The boy rested, watched by those who loved him, safe at last, but now forever changed. Time moves differently in places marked by fear. After the ritual was complete and the third eye closed, the household filled with gentle relief. The days grew longer, sunlight brighter, laughter slowly seeping back through woven walls. The boy's sleep no longer broke with terror. He awoke to the sound of birds, not spirits. For a while, he existed only in the world of the living, but memories remained, a shadow hidden in a corner, a chill beneath sudden silence. The river still called his name sometimes, but only inside dreams. The bamboo creaked and the wind sung, yet now the faces did not return. He could feel things move at the edge of his senses, elementals passing, ghosts listening, the white lady waiting where moonlight never quite reached. But seeing had been traded for feeling, and the world seemed both larger and safer for it. Family never spoke of that season. When the boy tried to mention what he'd endured, faces grew stern, voices rose in warning. His grandmother would hush him, eyes sharp with worry, mouth quick to remind, bringing up old stories brings them back. He learned to keep silent, not out of fear, but out of love. The past is a wound that bleeds again if picked, yet every so often curiosity tugged at the edges of memory. The urge to understand, to name the moving shadows never truly left. On special days, the river shone painfully bright and whispers echoed behind closed doors. Other children dreamed normal dreams and their lives moved forward untouched. Yet his world was changed forever, colored by truths invisible to most. In quiet moments, he would close his eyes and sense the thick, unseen life beyond the walls. He remembered the white lady and the Tiyanak, the chill of the canyon, the warmth of the shaman's touch. Memory became its own haunting, a gift and a curse. He understood then that not all horror vanishes. It waits patient and silent, curled beneath houses woven into the wind, lurking behind stories parents do not want told. And as he grew older, he carried those shadows gently, never naming them out loud but always watching for them to return. If you can still hear the river whispering, don't look back. But if stories like this crawl beneath your skin, then stay close. New horrors rise here every night, waiting to be seen, waiting to be told. Subscribe before the silence does, because the next story might already be watching you.